Tar Heel takes. It's the off season. We're back for a minute. Lots to talk about. I'm Graham Bunn, former D1 point guard. If you guys are new to the show by any means, we did pick up some new subscribers. You guys are the best, and we are looking forward to doing this again next season. But I got my better half, my two guard, Mr. Zach Talitsky, in the building. Didn't hang up the background. I was getting all ready when we decided to do a show. I was pretty pumped, man. What's going on there? UNC alum, all around sounding board for all things Tar Heels.
Yeah, I had to put the flag up for the off season, make a little room in the office. Sorry for the busy background.
Yeah, man. Well, you look good. And honestly, I'm not a massive fan of the portal. I know it completely rebuilt our program last year, so it's just very stressful. But it does make for interesting content in the offseason. Like college basketball offseason has never been more, I guess, exciting, but like for me, I'm still on pins and needles, and a lot of stuff came out today. And so you and I were like, hey, well, let's jump on and talk about it. Nothing more so bigger than the RJ Davis rumors. Is he going to come back? Is he not going to come back? CBS is reporting that the announcement's coming in a few days that he is returning. Now, the deadline is Saturday for him to declare for the early declaration for the NBA draft. So we knew in the next few days, I thought Friday we'd be hearing something, but we didn't know which way it was leaning. Before we jump completely into that, I don't want it to be overlooked and understated because I feel like he's been dealing with that maybe from his own coaching staff. Seth Trimble is officially back. And that's huge news. I don't think it goes understated what he brings to the table. Well, I guess it does go understated, so I don't want us to do it. I'm super pumped about having Seth Trimble back in the program for his junior year.
Yeah, that was huge news, and it came as a total surprise. I had not heard any rumors to that effect. Maybe you had, but to be able to get a guy who's been improving, back for his third year, I think he'll, bring a lot of stability. Obviously gives us an answer on the defensive end, was improving, pretty rapid clip on the offensive end. I think we'll continue to see that next year. I think he's going to be a huge piece for us next year. And so thrilled that he's back. Hopefully he gets, 20 plus minutes a game next year on a consistent basis.
I would love that. And I know it's going to be a minutes crunch. And if he's not getting 20 minutes per game, then we've got somebody that's really just standing out that we weren't ready for. Maybe it's Ian Jackson. Maybe it's a shooter in the portal. Who knows? And I hope that does not happen because obviously Seth Trimble wanted a little bit more for himself and he had to explore his options. And he felt like, well, maybe this is the best place for me. But if he's not getting 20 minutes a game, that means somebody else is really stepping up.
Yeah, it's probably a good problem to have, but I just think he gives us too much athleticism, too much defensive intensity to not have him on the floor.
Yeah, when I had conversations with people when he declared for the portal, because there was mixed reactions from it. A lot of people felt like it opened the door for some of the 5 stars that we had coming in to contribute more, to grow more faster. My argument to that, and I hope that the freshmen are amazing. I really do. And selfishly, I kind of hope that they come along a little bit slower than most people want because I'd like to see them for at least 2 years. I love college basketball, and to see these guys come in and then they leave, it's hard to like fall in love with them as players. But Seth Trimble, when he's in the game, brings something to the team that nobody else on the floor for our team does, and that's not always the case. So getting him back wherever you stand on rotation, minutes, one, he's going to make the guys better in practice. A lot of people don't think about that's just a high-level defender that, the freshmen are going to get to go up against in summer runs and skill development, individuals, preseason, all of those things. He just adds a lot of value to the team that I don't think your casual fan might recognize. And as somebody that, I got to play college basketball. I got to be a part of some of Duke's private practices in the summers. I got to play at a high level against some guys that were very, very accomplished. Seth Trimble is the type of defender that makes everyone around him better in the offseason. So I think this is a big win for Carolina basketball.
Yeah. I mean, getting Cadeau back, Trimble back, and then hopefully RJ back here in the next couple of days, that gives us that 3-man rotation that we saw all of last year, and was one of the best backcourts I think in college basketball. So to get that back is enormous. RJ is going to have a fire. He's going to be hungry. Cadeau's going to be hungry. I think he's going to put in the work over the summer, and once that jumper starts falling with any sort of consistency, he's going to be tough to stay in front of. Yeah. And Trimble, you can just see it. The confidence was growing towards the end of the year. So I just think that's going to be an incredible backcourt. And then you throw in, Ian Jackson, who, is a 5-star top 10 type of guy. Apparently he showed out at the McDonald's All-American game. Looks dynamic at all 3 levels. Can shoot the ball, can get to the mid-range, can get to the rim and finish. Mm-hmm. That's a lot. That's a lot to throw at people. So I, just as a fan, in the way Hubert lets his guards go and create, I think it's going to be a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, one of the things I also had a discussion with somebody that they felt like the take was an interesting take on Ian Jackson that I am excited for, is that you and I had mentioned in the game that we ended up losing, RJ struggled mightily, and that's those games happen. But Elliott kind of was benched, whatever you want to call it. We went a different direction with Paxton. Wasn't on the floor to get him easier looks, and Elliott was kind of the only player that was able to create for others in the open spaces and even in the half court, sometimes in the zone. When they played zone against us, we put Elliott at the free throw line and he was able to create shots for people around him. I've been watching some of the All-Star games, some of the workouts with Ian Jackson, and he's such a creative scorer. And like you said, he's 3 levels that he draws attention to himself at all times once he crosses half court, that I think he will also be able to create shots and take some of the pressure off of RJ to do things off the bounce, because he is very talented with the ball in his hands. So to add another player like that, I think it's going to add just another dynamic to the offense that not a lot of people are thinking about, because most people look at Ian Jackson like, oh, he's a bucket getter. Put the ball in his hands, he'll go score a bucket. Well, he's going to draw a lot of attention, if he is playing to what we feel he's going to play to. And I think that just helps everybody else around him.
Yeah, I think if he can be a 33 to 35%, 3-point shooter, and then maybe higher than that even, as a catch and shoot guy, if he's getting open looks, maybe that's too much to ask. I don't know. But yeah, that's
be high. I mean, Cormac Ryan, great shooter for most of the year, was not even 30%. He was getting naked looks. So to put that on a freshman, if he's 30, I'm okay, great. I can live with that, because he can put it on the floor and get to the rim too,
Yeah, but you just want it high enough that people have to at least aggressively close out, because then, I think he's going to be better at attacking the rim than Cormac was.
Yeah, he'll be there.
And so, if he can get to 30 plus, I think then that does add another dimension. And again, big fan of Cormac's, did a ton for us.
Yeah, kind of miss him.
Yeah, gonna miss him, but I do think just from being dynamic and maybe a little bit more flexible in who's creating, I do think he'll add something.
Agreed. Now, the RJ news, we don't have anything official to report, but it did come out recently. If anyone's watching this for the first time, they got the notification. Please like and subscribe. That still does matter. We're not in mid-season form, so I forgot to say that at the beginning. I apologize.
We're rusty.
I'm rusty. I'm going to get back into it. But let's just say, for argument's sake, for our conversation, that the CBS Sports leak that came out a few hours ago about RJ announcing that he is going to return to school. Harrison's gone. That's a big loss. He still remains eligible to return, but he did declare for the draft. So he has till May to stay or come back to Carolina. A lot of people think that he's keeping that door open. He's going to test the process, get some feedback. I think Luke May did that before his senior year as well. I don't think it was.
It's a common thing. It's smart. Yeah, you get a free read on where you are, and even if you don't get drafted, what you have to work on.
Yeah, which I thought RJ would take. The only thing about that is I believe that, RJ's been there for 4 years, and the scout on RJ is pretty set in stone for some of these pro scouts. Now, going to an NBA camp and showing out and doing your thing, who knows what happens. But I thought if we were going to find a finalized decision on RJ, it was going to be the May deadline, not the April. But let's just say, for argument's sake, that he's coming back. One, obviously, you're super pumped about that. But what does that make the backcourt look like? Because in my mind, it potentially, if it does produce a title, could be the best backcourt Carolina's ever had. Which is saying a lot. I mean, McCants and Felton, championship. Lawson, Wayne Ellington, amazing backcourt. But, RJ, first-team All-American. I can't remember who Joe Forte's point guard was because he was a first-team All-American at 2 guard. But, I mean, that's going to be special.
I mean, Kenny Smith and Michael Jordan was pretty good.
Yeah, you might have me there. You might have me there. All right. Before my time, but yeah. I got my Jordan cup, so I feel like I'm forgiven for that.
I mean, it could be, right, if those 3 guys, all come back. I mean, it looks like they will, especially if Cadeau and Trimble both take that next step that, we're hoping for. You can't guarantee it. But I think they both have the work ethic and drive that's going to happen. Yeah, it's going to be great. And then you throw in Ian Jackson, whether you want to call him a 2 or a 3. We have to find minutes for him somewhere. I mean, I think, we've gotten to the point where Hubert's very comfortable with a 3 guard, lineup. And so in some ways I could see, it being a battle between he and Drake Powell on who's going to start. But I think both of them are going to get a lot of minutes, probably at 3. If RJ comes back, if RJ doesn't come back, obviously it opens up a lot more minutes at 2.
Right. But this is discussion that RJ's coming back. We'll do a show once we finally know it. This show the news is out. We're believing it to be trustworthy. It was a CBS official account that leaked that. So hopefully they fact check that. And it comes from a reliable insider source. RJ comes back. Trimble's back. I think no matter what, and I think Trimble's okay with it. He's coming off the bench, and that's just going to be the way it is. But hopefully he sees 20-plus minutes, and he understands his role on the team like he did this year, and it grows. Do you think that affects because I heard that the Cade Tyson shooter, I believe that's the kid out of Belmont, the shooter, am I correct on his name?
Yes.
Was going to commit in the next few days as well. Do you think it affects his decision if RJ comes back? Because we haven't been very active in the portal yet, except for Seth Trimble.
Yeah, he's 6'7". I think he probably is playing more 3. I don't know that he can play 4. I've never watched him play. But just at 6'7", I wouldn't expect that he would be big enough to probably play 4 in the ACC. So, I think he's probably looking at competing for those minutes at 3. And so if I were him, I'd be looking more at the 2 freshmen and wondering, okay, 2 5-stars, I think I can come in and have a role there. I mean, it's a luxury, like if we can get him, it's obviously a huge luxury. I mean, I think based on true field goal percentage, he was like top 3 shooter in the country or something last year.
Yeah,
having that kind of floor spacer would be huge.
Yeah, I mean, I think again the same argument, and I don't know what the coaching staff's posing to these players. I'm not privy to that information, but it goes the same thing with Trimble. I think that he would bring something to the team that nobody else could. Even RJ, with that size, being a shooter at that size, I think is a tough matchup because you're going to have somebody that tall. And then can that person at that size close out to a shooter when the ball's being swung around off of a double or action with RJ, which, kind of poses problems when the defense has to expand, retract, all of those things. So I don't know if we get that shooter that I'm hopeful that we do, but if I wanted to go compete for a national title, and I've had success at Belmont, I've been the guy there and I've explored leaving that program, I definitely would want more for myself because if I didn't, I would have stayed put. But how much does this potentially could be the number 1 team in the country. We're going to compete for a 1 seed. We're going to compete for championships. I'm going to play in the Duke Carolina rivalry. Everything that goes along with playing at a school like the University of North Carolina, I think, puts us in the mix. Now, the Dayton kid, I think he's UConn. I think he's got UConn written all over him. I've been told that Kentucky is heavy in the mix with the NIL, but I just even with NIL aside, I'm sure he'll get paid handsomely. I think it'd be hard to turn down UConn. I know they're heavy on him. And what they did with, was it the Payne kid? Is that what was the white point guard that left UConn? He was a 1-year transfer. I'm blanking on his name, but what they did with him, I can see that kid coming in and having a similar role at UConn. So I feel like that's a plug and play kind of guy right there. But the kid from Belmont, I think we have a fair shot at.
Yeah, I think we're projected to get him on 247. Last time I pulled it up. Yeah, I don't know how current that is.
Oh yeah, Sean Barham, which he's really reliable, had projected crystal ball prediction Carolina, but that was before the RJ news, so I don't know how much that affects.
Yeah. I mean, we've seen what happens when we're bottom half of NCAA in 3-point percentage. It's not good,
Not
this
good.
offense, and
Not good.
you just can't have enough firepower. You look at a team like Alabama, they've got guys coming off the bench who can space the floor and continue to score when the starters go out.
Right.
In the way this team is shaping up, he's going to get a lot of open looks if he comes to Carolina. And
He is.
he's probably thinking, man, if you gave me all the open looks that Cormac Ryan got last year, I'm shooting 50% plus.
Yeah.
So and that's that's kind of the role I think he could play for us.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, hopefully we can get him. I mean, for my 2 top portal needs, number 1 is a 5, is a big, but then number 2 after that is a knockdown shooter. So he'd be a great get. I mean, I've seen Stojakovic mentioned out of Stanford with us a little bit too. I have no idea if that has any legs or momentum. But the Cade Tyson one seems real, and there's good potential there.
Yeah, I mean, Tyson was on campus, scheduled visit. I don't know about Stojakovic. I believe he's still planning his visits at this moment in time. Maybe he's taking some. I haven't heard. And we'll get into the bigs. But the last thing I'll say on the shooter is, at Carolina, especially for a coach like Hubert Davis, and how important the 3-point line is, you're going to play. If you can shoot the 3, like I would love for you to be able to defend, and we need guys that can defend. But I will tell you that you're going to get on the floor if you can knock down 50% of your threes and you're 6'7". So there's a lot of guys coming back to Carolina. We've got some firepower coming in, 5-star athletes. But I'm telling you, shooting trumps all right now in the game of basketball. And if you're 6'7" and can stroke threes, you are going to play at Carolina. So I hope that that's the pitch. Like, hey, we know there's a lot of factors for you making your decision, but if you can shoot it the way you shot it at Belmont in the ACC, nothing's going to keep you off the floor.
Yeah, agreed.
All right, so the 5 spot, which, again, you and I both agree is, and I hope Washington is our guy. I think he could play some 4, but we do need a 5 in the portal. I haven't heard anything good about our 5s. The kid from Tennessee is projected to go to Baylor. The kid from Arizona that we were heavy on, he signed, I think, at Indiana. Bradshaw from Kentucky went to Ohio State. Wolf went to the kid from Yale, who I was excited for you. I thought we were getting him. He's at Michigan. So I don't know where we stand. I mean, who's left at the 5 spot right now that we're still in the mix for? Thiero? Is he one?
He's not really a 5. He's more of a wing. I mean, he's thick and athletic.
The Rutgers kid, is
the
he
Rutgers
still available?
Clifford Amaruyi, I think, is still available.
All right.
So I think he would be, I don't know if I pronounced his name right, but he'd be interesting. I think Onyenso from Kentucky also entered the portal. I've not seen us attached to him, but yeah, he was 7'2", big athletic guy that Kentucky had last year. So that would be interesting to me, at least. Don't know if he's got a great offensive skill set yet, but defensively he could be an anchor. Some other names that were interesting to me as I was going through the listing today. Again, I don't know if we're attached to any of these. Great Isobor from Utah State. I think he might have been the Mountain West Player of the Year. 6'8", 6'9", but good, skilled, low post guy. Also can really pass. I think they used him as a point center sometimes. which I think could be interesting in our offense. And then Brandon Garrison from Oklahoma State. He's an interesting guy. He's highly recruited. Spent
We've
1 year
contacted
there.
him.
Okay.
I believe that we've contacted him.
So there's still some names out there of attractive bigs. I mean, it's amazing when you go through the list. I mean, you can go 100 names deep, and you're like, oh, that guy's good too. I mean, it's not like there's 15 guys who have entered the portal that are interesting. I mean, there's a lot of guys who have played big minutes in major conferences. Guys who won Conference Player of the Year in the portal. It's crazy.
Yeah, there was a kid that committed, obviously big news in college basketball when Coach Cal went to Arkansas. And so that threw Kentucky's plans and big shout out. And I'm happy for Mark Pope from BYU, won a championship and is beloved in Kentucky. So I think they got a guy that is going to build a program much differently than Cal built it. And he's got roots in the Kentucky. I think they made the right choice. A lot of people fight me on that, but I think they made the right choice. But Kentucky's recruits now, most of them are traveling to Arkansas. But there's a few, and one was announced today. I'm trying to pull it up, his name. The high school kid, he decided he is not going to follow Cal to Arkansas, and he's back in the portal. So Jaden Quintons, 5-star forward. He's back on the map. So I don't know if we're involved with him, but like you said, there's an abundance of bigs. And now with, the stretch 4 and guys going smaller and playing smaller, and we do have Washington, if we need just a pure tall player that's skilled and has experience at the 5, we have that on our roster. Hopefully he stays. But I think that, the roster is now shaping up nicely. And if Harrison Ingram comes back, I mean, look out.
Yeah. I mean, it's surprising to me like that we couldn't get a great 5 in the portal. I mean, how many teams have used their 5 as much as we use Backcourt, over the last couple of years? And so if I were looking at our system and saying, hey, I need to get featured, I want the ball. It seems like Carolina is a great system to get plugged into.
They might look at Backcourt and say he was, preseason ACC Player of the Year, and he's going to go undrafted as a sophomore, saying that now he's going undrafted. So maybe that is scaring some of those guys away. But honestly, and I know he worked on it because I saw the workout videos in the summers. I just don't think Backcourt had the skill set that translates to the NBA today. Now, 10, 15 years ago, he would have got drafted after his sophomore year, but it's just a different game.
And size and length and, and he improved dramatically, I think, his senior year in terms of being able to get out and guard the high ball screen and all that stuff.
100%.
But they're just looking for a different type of athlete, at the pro level. And so I don't think it's a system thing as much as it is just his.
Oh, definitely not. But if you're an 18-year-old kid, 19-year-old kid, 20-year-old kid, maybe that factors in.
Yeah, but if you're like Balo, like what has Indiana done? Like it's not like they're putting out bigs. They're going to the pros every year, and So
agreed.
I think that's more, at least if you believe the rumors that they offered him $1 million, and my guess is that's an exploding offer, and so they're like, if you leave without committing, we can't promise you that the $1 million is going to be there, and so they put pressure. I'm guessing. I don't know that happened, but I'm guessing they're putting pressure on these kids to make these rapid decisions. Otherwise, why would you go into the portal and then not take like 3 or 4 visits? It's like odd to me, like guys are sort of jumping, like the first place they visit, they jump. And so something tells me that the money's being tied to a quick decision.
Yeah. I would agree that's nothing's a safe bet, but if you had to place one, I'd place a bet on that. Like, hey, look, we love you. We want you here. This is the offer, but if you leave campus, we're going to move forward and we can't guarantee that offer is going to be here tomorrow, type of deal.
And we may need a 4 too. I mean, depending on, what happens with Ingram, but if we assume he's gone.
I'm assuming Ingram's gone because I just can't, I don't want to get disappointed. If he comes back, we're really in the mix because I think he's going to be an incredible college basketball player. I mean, I think he'll bring something that nobody can do. He's one of the best two-way guys we've had in a very, very long time. But I'm
rebounder, incredible rebounder.
Well, that was the one thing I'm a little concerned with. Backcourt and him are gone. So that's like 90% of our rebounding.
Yeah, so we're gonna need a nasty rebounder at the 5, and then I was trying to look at some options at the 4. Dylan Mitchell from Texas could be interesting.
Mhm.
Either of the Duke kids, TJ Power, Sean Stewart. I don't know, I don't know how people feel about that
Yeah.
crossover and that rivalry, or if that would even happen. But they both have different but
It'll
interesting
happen
skill
one
sets.
day. It'll happen one
Yeah,
day. It will happen. I don't know
yeah.
if it will be around to see it, but it's gonna happen one day.
And then Baba Miller from Florida State went into the portal. I always liked his game. I thought he was
Mhm.
sort of an interesting skill set at like 6'11", could get out and stretch the floor, but can defend the rim.
Yeah. Oh, that'd be great. I didn't know he was in the portal. I would love to have him.
Yeah, yeah. So that's what's
Drake
it's just
Powell.
there's so many interesting guys out there.
Yeah.
Um,
Where do you think our starting 5 is as of right now as it stands? Considering RJ comes back, because we're under the premise right now that RJ comes back.
yeah. So I was trying to figure that out right before we jumped on. So Cadeau at 1, RJ at 2.
Mhm.
And then I put down, Ian Jackson or Drake Powell at 3.
I've got Ian there.
Yeah. And then, I sort of wasn't sure between at 4, is it Jalen, Drake, or Zayden High?
Right.
I don't know that Drake could play 4 in the ACC. It was he 6'6", 6'7", I think.
Yeah. Yeah. It's gonna
Um,
be. Yeah.
maybe in some matchups he could, if the other team like really goes small, is more perimeter oriented. But I think he's known more as a perimeter defender anyway, and so you don't want to have him,
Right.
botting up with Shefflin down low at Clemson.
Right.
Um, but Jalen, could be interesting at 4. I loved him coming off the bench this year, and
Mhm.
kind of like for him to be in that role again, because I think he brings a ton of energy.
Yeah.
But he could start there, and then hopefully Zayden continues to develop. I think he was recruited to be a stretch 4, so
Yeah.
if that shot comes along, he's got good energy. So that could be an interesting option, and then that would leave us Washington
Yeah.
at 5,
Right.
and then James Brown coming off the bench as a freshman to back him up, or Zayden getting
Mhm.
some 5 minutes.
Yeah. I had, and you're gonna laugh at this because you just really destroyed my my 5. But I had Ian at 3, Elliott at 1, RJ at 2, Drake at 4. I went small ball all around Washington at 5 as the current construction of the roster is now. Now, I hope that changes. That's not the 5 that I want. I would love a 5 in the portal, and we start that 5 in the portal. And I'd love to move Washington to the starting 4 with Drake backing Ian up at 3, like moving him up a bit and not having him play 4 at all. But as it stands right now, that would be the 5 I would be most excited about, of like, okay, this is the guys that we have to work with. Here they are. Now, if Harrison comes back, that changes everything. Give me your 5 if Harrison is there.
Yeah, Cadeau, RJ, Ian, Harrison, and
So you'd play
Washington.
Harrison at 4 is fine, right? Because
Yeah,
he's so
yeah,
strong.
yeah. I
Agreed.
mean, he played 4. I think really played 4 mostly
Yeah.
this year, right? Because
Mhm. Well, the
Cormac at
3-4,
3. Yeah,
yeah, the 3-4 were interchangeable. I mean, not that Cormac played, but I felt like it was 2 guards, 2 wings, and a big,
yeah,
you know.
yeah.
But that would
But
be, oh
he
man,
was able to take, guys like Mark Mitchell, and some of the
yeah,
like bigger wings,
yeah,
power wings,
hmm
um, you know. But yeah, it's going to be interesting how we balance the minutes between Ian and Drake. Uh, part of me loves the portal, and part of me loves the idea of bringing in guys that are known and proven. And I guess you have to do it
hmm
because you're leaving so much to chance otherwise. But part of me misses the days of,
of
your
course.
freshmen have to play. And
hmm
by the way, your sophomores and juniors have to mature and improve. And, they know that there's minutes coming available to them. And so, they're killing themselves over the summer to get ready to play and start. And so I guess we do need to get, portal guys. But if we don't, you know, it'd be interesting. It'll be interesting as a fan to see, how these guys step into these roles.
hmm
I would like to think it isn't a disaster for us. Maybe we're not top 3 in the country preseason, but we're still probably top 15 with what we have coming back, assuming RJ's in the mix.
Yeah, I'm trying to pull it up now just because I'd like to know. I reached out to an NBA agent today because I was like, hey, when I got to work this weekend and I'm going to be out in the desert and my phone's not going to have service. I don't know how much news I'm going to, but I knew it was either Friday or Saturday. I got to start working Friday morning, so I won't be around my phone. But Friday or Saturday was like the deadline for early declaration, like 60 days prior to the NBA draft. And I think it falls on Friday. I don't know if it's midnight. And then so Saturday morning, if you haven't declared for the draft, then you're coming back. Cause I wanted to know when RJ was going to give his decision. And he said, yeah, it's Saturday. So you would probably get the news on Friday. But if RJ, let's say RJ, just like Harrison, enters into early declaration for the NBA, he has till May. I don't know the exact date. And I was trying to pull it up right now where players can go through the process. I don't know the exact day in May that they have to make a decision to stay in the draft or they can return to college. Do you have any clue? Like, are you having any luck if you Google it real quick? Because I'd love to know at the latest, like when we're going to know a decision on Harrison,
Yeah, let me see.
Let's see.
It says this is for last year, but the NBA early entry withdrawal deadline at 5 p.m. on June 12th. So it may not be exactly the 12th
so
this
early
year,
June,
but I assume the calendar is roughly the same from year to year.
Yeah, I think the draft's on the 23rd every year. I don't know,
Okay.
But
yeah. So early to mid June.
Yeah, man. Well, exciting news, man. It's really cool to get back on here. Tar Heel takes, and hopefully we'll do another show, and maybe we'll do a few, like kind of spread out through the summer, just because I think RJ coming back, we'll discuss that. Maybe if we sign a couple portal guys, we'll kind of discuss what we're looking at, and then once the Harrison thing shapes up, there'll be a few things to address, and we'll get on here and do some quick ones, man. But it's nice to stay in the mix and get back involved.
Yeah, maybe we could somehow get Kenny Williams to get back on with us to talk about what's going on in the summer, if he has any insights on some of the new guys. But I'm not sure he would do that or not.
Yeah, he actually reached out to me. He reached out to me to jump on, and then Luke Hancock also reached out and was like, "Hey, man, I let you down." Like he seems like the nicest, super nice guy. Joel Berry's been. I saw him with Jay out at the ACC tournament. He and I've been chopping it up a little bit via Instagram, so maybe he'll.
I'm sure he's in the
on.
summer games too.
Oh yeah, I'm sure he is. I think he has kind of like a deal with Field of 68 or Inside Carolina, so he's been kind of tight-lipped about like what his contract looks like, but I think that he might be employed or have a deal with one of our competitors. I guess if you say that, I don't even know if we're considered competitive with anybody. You and I just love Carolina basketball, so we do this show. But some big names been tossing around, coming on here and chopping it up with us. And I did get a bunch of messages from guys and girls that listened this year and loved our breakdown. So that was really, really cool. And it's nice to jump on here and do another show with you. Go Heels.
Go Heels.
All right. Last thing. Give me your prediction on Harrison. I know you're in the dark, but what do you think is going to happen with him?
I think he's going to come back.
I do too. I
think like once he goes through the process, unfortunately, and look, I hope he kills it in the workouts and all the one-on-ones and everything that they put him through, and that he gets drafted in the first round. I mean, if that's what he wants for himself, I absolutely hope that happens. Mm-hmm. It's just, when I look at his game and his length, it's tough. It doesn't feel like it totally translates easily to the NBA and like what position he would play. Mm-hmm. Like, I think it's tough for him to play 4. So, if he's playing 3, can he really, can he shoot it well enough at the NBA level to play 3? And then can he guard, all the athletes that are playing 3 in the NBA? So I hope he kills it and he gets that opportunity, but I could see him coming back.
Yeah. I'm with you. I feel like had he shot it close to 40%, like 38, 37 from 3 this year, I believe that he would not, entertain coming back. But I think that the one thing that he could improve upon is the consistency at which he shot the ball, and that seems to be a premium in drafting players these days. So, maybe he can change GM's minds in a few weeks. But if I'm a GM and I see him shoot the ball well in the summer for a few weeks, but I've got 7-8 months of season of a shorter 3-point line to kind of go off of, I don't know if I'm convinced in that short period of time.
Right. I mean, his shot was a little flat, and it's not like his release is that quick. Usually when he's taking threes, it was because he was wide open. He's not, and he's not really creating and jabbing and like getting his own. And so maybe I don't know.
Yeah.
One thing that I think will translate, and maybe this is what will get him in the first rounds. I do think in the NBA we have so many long rebounds and so many loose balls. It's so wide open. He's so quick to the ball. And I don't know how many long rebounds he got this year. He certainly has some things I think will be really valuable, but it would not shock me if they say, hey, you're going to be mid to late second round. And then, it's worth his while to come back.
Yeah. Especially with the NIL money that he signed a new NIL deal before he left. Now, I don't know how that works. And, because I would imagine some of it's tied to the school because, it's brand likeness and that built-in fan base with that NIL deal, especially when it was secured, you were a Tar Heel. And, but yeah, hopefully, selfishly, I want him back, but I'm with you. If he goes in the process and they tell him, hey, this is the class that we think that, unfortunately it's been reported it's one of the weakest draft classes ever, and he feels like he's got a better chance, I totally understand. But man, it'd be great to run it back with Harrison Ingram.
It would. And he brings so much joy to the team. I mean, in addition to being a great player, someone's going to have to fill that role.
Yeah. I honestly, and with everybody coming back a year better, they always say, high tides rise all ships. I think he's going to get better. He's going to have exponentially a better year, in my opinion, just with everything that's surrounding him, especially with guys like Ian Jackson and Drake. It's just, I feel like we've got a lot more weapons offensively where it's not going to all be on RJ's shoulders. And I do believe we compete for a national championship if RJ and Harrison come back. But we do need that 5. That 5 is kind of big.
Yeah, it is. I think it's big. Hopefully we can get one.
Yeah. Do you have a preference or a prediction on the big? And then I'm gonna let you go.
I've never seen any of those guys really play other than, I watched great Asabor once or twice, I think in the Mountain West Conference tournament. I think I maybe saw Brandon Garrison play once or twice. I don't think I've ever seen a Rutgers game. So yeah, it's hard. I don't know.
I've seen highlights of the Rutgers kid. Now highlights are deceiving, but because I look great on a highlight tape. But the Rutgers kid has some nice highlights. Really strong, athletic. I think brings something to the table nobody else does. So I'd be really happy with him, but we'll see.
I think he's the highest rated of all of them. I think he's like one of the top 10 guys in the transfer portal, according to 247. So that seems to be the consensus, is he would be the best one.
Nice. All right. Well, fingers crossed, and go Heels.
Go Heels.